Network.
Drivers, start your engines. Pull those belts down tight one more time, warm up those tires, hit your marks, and let's go racing, boys and girls. NASCAR, Indycar, Formula One, FormulaE, and NHRA Racing Talk. This is the Championship Racing Network. Now here's your hosts, Steve West and Matt Nicholson, with producer John Myers.
Yes, indeed. Welcome into another Saturday here. Final Saturday, really? Already? Of this month?
Afraid so.
I don't know what it is. Last 2 years seem like they crawled by, thanks COVID. Stupid COVID.
Yeah.
This year has slammed on the accelerator. And I was thinking about it as we drove in this morning. Of course, we drive in, producer John and I, come in on I-20, drive right by Talladega Superspeedway. And I was thinking, in about a month, we're going to be out there.
Yep.
It's going to be fun. Good morning to you. I'm Steve West. That is Matt Nicholson, producer John Myers out there making everything happen here, of course, on 95.1 The Mountain. Don't forget, if you're going outside of the FM signal, which is actually pretty substantial, you can listen to us on the 95.1 The Mountain app. Go just whatever your favorite app store is, be it Google, Apple, whatever, Android, doesn't matter. Go find 95.1 The Mountain. Download the app. You can listen to it anywhere. Or you can go onto our YouTube page. Just go onto YouTube, look up CRN Live, subscribe, boom, you're ready to go. It's the way it is.
Yep.
Let's get into it because it was a busy weekend last weekend. You and I were there in Atlanta last Saturday for the doubleheader. Started off with the Camping World Truck Series on that reformed track. Again, still 1.5 miles in what they're calling quad oval form, but new pavement, and they upped the banking to 28 degrees, marking in speed. Yep. And it was enough to cause NASCAR officials to use the aero rules for Daytona and Talladega for this track as well. It did seem to work in one way. It eliminated the ability for any one driver to just take off and leave the field.
Which for Atlanta, for me, that was actually refreshing.
I agree. You actually got some really nice, tight racing there. On the final lap, any of about 4 or 5 trucks really had a chance to claim the win. The winner was actually your part-time Truck Series driver, Corey Heim, who said after the fact, quote, "It's awesome. I was at the right place at the right time." Sounds familiar for Talladega and Daytona fans. He added that driving for Kyle Busch Motorsports, that it was one particular teammate, Chandler Smith, who could have actually possibly won the race, but it was another KBM teammate, John Hunter Nemechek, that actually pushed him to the win, that he appreciated that there were no team order at Kyle Busch Motorsports, which I got to admit, kind of refreshing.
Very, very, very refreshing.
So after our winner, Corey Heim, Ben Rhodes actually jumps up. He claims second. Ty Majeski third, then Chandler Smith and Zane Smith, not related. Stuart Friesen, Ryan Preece, Tanner Gray, Derek Kraus, Austin Self in the top 10. Since Heim is not running full-time or for points in the series, he's not eligible for the playoffs. So your 2 drivers locked in at this time are Chandler and Zane Smith, again, not related. To your top 10, Tanner Gray, Ty Majeski, Stuart Friesen, Ben Rhodes, Christian Eckes, Austin Self, John Hunter Nemechek, and Matt Crafton. You got fairly big names of the Camping World Truck Series that are on the outside looking in, talking about names like Matt DiMettadetto, Grant Enfinger, and Spencer Boyd. Changes over time. I'm kind of thinking it will.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it will, considering DiBenedetto made a uncharacteristic move on lap 1 and got slammed in the wall.
Yeah.
Kind of killed his day.
It really did.
Yeah.
We're correct. Later in the afternoon, Xfinity Series took on Atlanta's new High Banks. Before all was said and done, the sun long gone over the western horizon, because the series needed a red flag and not just 1, but 2 overtimes to settle things down. It got pretty chilly, I'll admit.
It actually felt good. I was thinking, yes, it felt good outside.
The win was the first 2-time winner this year in any of NASCAR's top series. That's right. We haven't got a 2-time winner in the Camping World Truck Series, and foreshadowing, no 2-time winner in the Cup Series either.
Yet.
Yeah, yet. That will change.
Yeah, that'll change.
Making out of Ryan Sieg on the final lap. Young Ty Gibbs ended up getting the win. Had a little bit of drama as he did make a youngster's mistake during the race. He overshot his pit stall during the event. Was able to overcome it and plow through the field to claim the win. Ryan Sieg suffering a bad final lap. He actually dropped down to 10th. That allowed Austin Hill to claim second, A.J. Allmendinger third, then Riley Erbst, Landon Castle, Mason Massey, Brandon Jones, Kyle Weatherman, Sheldon Krieg, and then, as we mentioned, Sieg. As we noted, Gibbs has 2 wins. He leads the Xfinity Series playoff charge at this time. He's joined in the playoffs by the locked-in Noah Gragson and Austin Hill. Rest of your top 12 in on points at this time include A.J. Allmendinger, Justin Allgaier, Josh Berry, Brandon Jones, Daniel Emmerich, Riley Erbst, Ryan Sieg, Landon Castle, and Sheldon Creed.
For this one right here upcoming, this was actually more refreshing to watch than Atlanta because you actually had a stinking race. There was actual race happened.
Quite a bit of drama here too.
Yeah.
We turned to Sunday and to Formula One, where a lot of people came into this year kind of feeling like it was going to be another year of just watching Red Bull, which won the driver's title in 2021, and Mercedes, which won the Constructors' Cup last year. But Ferrari went into and borrowed Coach Lee Corso's famed quote from College Game Day, "Not so fast, my friend." The 2022 season got underway. The Grand Prix of Bahrain, as Charles Leclerc and his Ferrari got a great start, led the field for the majority of the race. But defending champion Max Verstappen wasn't giving up without a fight. He even battled for the lead on a few occasions. But Verstappen ended up pitting on lap 44 of 53. Then there was a safety car period on lap 46 when the AlphaTauri of Pierre Gasly overheated, actually went up in flames. That bunched the field up and allowed Leclerc to be able to grab the same soft compound tires that Verstappen did, but his now are a couple of laps fresher. On the restart, Leclerc took off from the field. Verstappen was having issues with his power steering all race, then suddenly began to report he was losing power. He had to retire the car. That's one Red Bull down. His Red Bull teammate, Sergio Perez, later started to complain about power issues himself, and on the final lap, in an attempt to hold Lewis Hamilton off for third place, spun the car going into turn 1 on the final lap, stalled it, and that ended his day. Both Red Bulls out. DNFs.
Yes.
When was the last time you heard that?
Well, it's been a while.
A while, yeah.
Very long time.
Leclerc ends up winning the race, and he's trailed by his Ferrari teammate, Carlos Sainz. Ferrari fans all around the world rejoice. 1-2 finish. Hamilton up there, his Mercedes teammate, George Russell. I almost said George Hamilton.
Did anybody have this one on their bingo cards?
Yeah, no. Leclerc, Sainz, Hamilton, and Russell, 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, but wait. It gets better.
Number 5?
Even if you had those 4, there's probably very little chance that you said the Haas F1 of Kevin Magnussen in 5th, but that's how it worked out. The Alfa Romeo of foreshadowing thing, because we talked about the practice and how Ferrari and the Ferrari-powered teams, Haas F1 and Alfa Romeo, were really looking good.
They backed it up in the race.
Only one Ferrari-powered car was outside the top 10, and that was the Haas F1 of Mick Schumacher, who finished 11th.
Yeah.
Ferrari may be back. We don't know. This could be an outlier, but I'm kind of thinking not, truth be told.
Well, here in just a minute, we'll look at the FP2 and we'll know if Ferrari's back.
Yeah, FP1, you got to realize FP1 had a couple of technical difficulties, so we'll look at FP2. And by the way, qualifying coming up
1 hour.
In 1 hour. Driver standings mirror the top 10, but the Constructors' Cup points don't, so we'll add the points of both drivers as it's applicable. The leader is Ferrari. They got 44 points. 27 for Mercedes. Haas sits third in points. Now, granted, it's very early after one race, but they're third in points right now with 10. Alfa Romeo's got 9. It led Valtteri Bottas, who, remember, was in Mercedes last year. Valtteri Bottas says now Alfa Romeo and the rest of the midfield is chasing Haas. We'll see. Alpine has 8,
Yeah.
AlphaTauri 4, zeros for Aston Martin, Williams, McLaren, which we could see those. Have to admit, did not see a big fat 0 for Red Bull even after only one race.
Taking away the technical difficulties that Red Bull had, both cars were solidly in the top 4 before the engines decided to say goodbye, see you later in Bahrain.
Well, and we'll get back to this during the news. Turns out, yeah, they were losing power, but it wasn't the engine's fault.
Yeah, it was an electrical issue.
Yeah. So we'll dive into that a little bit more once we get into news coming up a little bit later.
But for the next box on Bingo Card Saturday here on CRN, did anybody have McLaren in the cellar in race 1? No, I didn't.
No. I don't know what it was about them. I would have figured, not necessarily not first, second, third necessarily, but
7th, 8th.
yeah, 7th, 8th, and 9th, 10th. I would have figured that. Indycar went oval track racing last weekend as well. They were at Texas Motor Speedway. Came down to a last lap pass between teammates to end it. Scott McLaughlin, who won the season opener, was leading on the white flag lap. But charging hard, coming off of turn 2 on the final lap, was your 2-time champion, Joseph Newgarden. Newgarden was able to make the pass off of turn 4 on the outside, claims the win, kind of left McLaughlin wondering exactly what Newgarden said of the win, quote, unbelievable. I think Scott led 95% of the laps. I hate doing that to a teammate, but I was going for it just like he was. I was loose. I was driving the thing sideways off turns 3 and 4. I was trying to get a win. Just so pleased for everybody. Last lap, last corner, that's what it's all about at Texas. McLaughlin settled for second. He did go into victory lane to congratulate.
Yeah, it was real classy.
It was. The funny thing is that Newgarden happened to see him during his post-race interview out of the corner of his eye and went, I don't know what he's going to do.
Hey, John Myers, brace yourself on this one. Brace yourself really hard.
Yep, be ready.
Brace yourself hard. For this rundown.
Yep, Marcus Ericsson 3rd, Will Power 4th, Scott Dixon 5th, and ladies and gentlemen, the best IndyCar finish ever for one Jimmy Johnson, who finished 6th. You impressed, John Myers? Apparently not. Alex Polo 7th, Simon Pagenaud 8th, Santino, Ferrucci, Rinus VeeKay making up the top 10. Scott McLaughlin leads your points, 97-69 over Will Power. Alex Polo is 3rd, 67. Joseph Newgarden 65. Marcus Ericsson 58. 55 for Scott Dixon. Rinus VeeKay, Colton Herta tied with 50. Simon Pagenaud, Romain Grosjean in 39 for Simon Pagenaud, Romain Grosjean in 10th with 35. Big rookie field this year. Christian Lundgaard leading the rookie points with 30 to 26 for Callum Elott. David Malukas has 25, 18 for Kyle Kirkwood. Devlin DeFrancesco with 14, and your part-time rookie, Tatiana Calderon, skipping out on the Texas race, holds only 6 right now. And your final race of the weekend, Cup Series, running at Atlanta Motor Speedway. It's race number 5 of the year for the Cup Series. Got 5 different winners. Over the course of the race, the lead changed some 46 times amongst 20 different drivers, smashing the old track records in both of those categories. Again, we were talking about this. They were bringing the Talladega and the Daytona packages there, especially for the Cup field, and it did. It kind of reacted like a mini Talladega Daytona.
It did, but and you could actually make clean passes by yourself.
You could.
And not have to depend on another car to help you pass.
Yeah, exactly.
I saw it happen multiple times in the Xfinity race, Trevor Bayne. And the truck race, it was, who was making all those passes? It was Grant Enfinger.
Enfinger, yeah. Enfinger was actually doing really, really well throughout the course of the race. In the Truck Series at the end, holding off the field over the final 10 laps in the Cup Series, the winner you ended up being William Byron by a scant 1/10 of a second. Christopher Bell crossed the finish line second, but after NASCAR reviewed the video, NASCAR ruled that Bell had gone under the double lines to claim the spot. Another Daytona Talladega rule. So it relegated him to last on the lead lap, so second place was officially given to Ross Chastain. Third to Kurt Busch. Rest of your top 10, Daniel Suarez, Corey LaJoie, Chase Elliott, Chris Buescher, Martin Truex Jr., Joey Logano, and Alex Bowman, Your 5 winners are in seeding order. If the playoffs started right now, Chase Briscoe would be your 1 seed. Go figure that. William Byron is your 2, Alex Bowman 3, Kyle Larson and Austin Cindric all locked into the playoffs at this time. Rest of the 16 that are in include names like Chase Elliott, Joey Logano, Kurt Busch, Ryan Blaney, Eric Almirola, Martin Truex Jr., Ross Chastain, Kyle Busch, Daniel Suarez, Kevin Harvick, Tyler Reddick. Amongst the bigger names on the outside looking in right now, Brad Keselowski, and we'll get back to him later, Bubba Wallace, and Denny Hamlin all on the outside. So here we go. For this weekend, qualifying happened yesterday for these first 2 races of the weekend. Camping World Truck Series set to run at Circuit of the Americas, or COTA. The race will be the XPEL 225, taking the 20-turn, 3.426-mile-long road course on hand. MRN Radio, Fox Sports 1, cover the race 1 p.m. Eastern, noon Central Time.
Your starting lineup. I actually had the Xfinity starting lineup pulled up.
That's not going to help.
Here we go. XPEL 225. Your pole sitter would be one Sheldon Creed in the number 20 Young's Motorsports machine.
He needs a good run.
You've got Zane Smith flanking him on the front row. Starting in row 2, you have Alex Bowman, who is in the Spire number 7 ride this weekend.
Yeah, go figure that one.
Yeah, HendrickCars.com on the side.
Yeah, looks a heck of a lot like Kyle Larson's Cup car. Let's just put it that way.
You got Parker Kligerman 4th. Kyle Busch will roll off 5th. Carson Hocevar 6th. Stuart Friesen 7th. Christian Eckes 8th. Taylor Gray 9th. And Tyler Ankrum rolling out through the top 10.
Kyle Busch is running this race, which means I'm pretty much going to pencil him in right now.
I'm actually not.
No?
No.
You going to go Bowman?
I'm not going to go Bowman.
Who are you going with?
I am. Where is he? Where's he at?
He's back in the field.
No.
While you're looking for him, if I may comment on the comments you made earlier.
You'd like to go back to the IndyCar top 10?
Yeah. The reason I didn't say anything then is
you were busy. I was watching you clicking.
I was working on our YouTube feed.
Yes.
Yeah. We were out of sync like by a second and a half.
I hate it when that happens.
But we're back in sync, I think.
Fix it. Okay. What would you like to comment about 6th place Jimmy Johnson, first ever top 10, best finish ever?
About time.
Short, sweet, and to the point.
Yep.
All right. Who are you looking at?
I'm going to look towards where the row Casgarala is starting at. He was strong last year. See if he can back it up this year.
Where's he starting?
He is starting in 18th.
He's got some work to do, but it could be worse.
Could be.
Last weekend, doubleheader day in Atlanta. This weekend, another doubleheader day for NASCAR as Xfinity takes Dakota after the Truck Series do. They're going to run the Pit Boss 250 on the same 20-turn, 3.426-mile-long layout. Fox Sports 1 and PRN Radio have the coverage beginning 4:30 p.m. Eastern, 3:30 p.m. Central Time.
You've got, here's a shocker, Ty Gibbs is on the pole.
Yeah, no, not shocked at all.
And he actually won the pole by a half a second.
I know. He laid down one heck of a lap in qualifying. There's no doubt about it.
Your outside pole sitter in the DGM Mario Gosselin ride, Ross Chastain in the 92 this weekend.
Don't overlook him. He might just actually come up and shock you.
Row 2, you got Cole Custer.
He's driving a
back in the 07 car.
Yeah.
AJ Allmendinger will flank him to his outside.
Okay.
Row 5, another Mario Gosselin DGM car with Alex LeBay, not Labby.
No, not Labby. Oh, geez.
You sure it's not Labby?
If we can't, we weren't able to do
this. Is that the same as 21 by 3?
Yes, 23 by 1.
Let's just say this. Last week at Atlanta, John, he and I had a field day.
Listening to the PA.
Listening to the PA guys.
I could only imagine.
Yeah,
we had a field day.
We weren't able to do, we were kind of evicted from the studio before we could do an after the show last week. So assuming everything works out in our flagship station when we do the after the show, we'll be talking a bit about the PA situation at Atlanta Motor Speedway.
Maybe other places too.
Anyways. Yeah, well, that may come up as well.
Yeah. And you got Sheldon Creed and rolling off in 6th. Row 4, the third DGM car, Preston Pardis in the 91.
He's a road course ace. The guy knows how to run road courses.
And you got Austin
cars.
Hill in 8th, Justin Allgaier 9th, and Sam Meyer will roll off 10th. Bullet pointing through the field. You got Noah Gregson rolling off 12th, Landon Castle rolling off 14th. The 18 car will roll off 15th. We'll talk about that pilot here in just a little bit. Let's see. You got Miguel Paludo in a 5th Junior Motorsports car in 17th. Josh Berry will roll off 25th. You got Sage Carroll rolling off 24th.
Ooh, buried in the field.
Then Brandon Menards Jones will roll off shotgun in the field. 4 cars did not qualify.
I'm looking square at row number 2, by the way.
Quick thought here.
I think either one of those drivers.
We've always talked about, if you got to have the right equipment, blah, 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 blah. It takes money to do this and that, right?
Yeah, but it doesn't hurt if you got the right driver.
Yeah.
No.
Well, what if you have the right driver, but you're a mom and pop operation and you can't get in because they have 5 cars in the field?
Well, here's the thing. If it's a mom and pop operation, or let's say the 3 of us put together a team, it'd be a, trust me, week by week budgetary team. If we could find
week by week,
yeah, really,
day by day,
yeah. If we found the right driver who could then tell us, hey, listen, here's what I'm feeling and here's what we need to do to fix it. If you listen and you're able to make those fixes, you can kind of overcome some of the, shall we say, penny ante dealings that you got to go with on a day-by-day basis if you're a low-budget team.
Mm-hmm.
That being said, some are just going to find themselves on the outside looking in. Who found themselves on the outside looking in? Any big name?
You got Brennan Poole missing
There you go.
in the Mike Harmon car. You got Gar Robinson, who is piloting Jimmy Means' car. And that, I hate to say it, but that's going to hurt Jimmy Means' team
It's
because
going to hurt Jimmy Means' team.
he's only attempted 2 races this year and missed 2 races.
Yeah, that's going to hurt him a lot.
He's missed 2.
Sunday, we've got a couple of races to deal with. Formula One kicks off Sunday's action. They're staying in the Middle East with the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix, assuming they get it run. We'll get back to that in the news. 27 turns, 3.83 miles long. It's the Jeddah Corniche circuit. It is a street course. Airs 1 p.m. Eastern, noon Central Time on ESPN. It'll be under the lights in Saudi Arabia, daytime here. And then final race of the weekend belongs to the Cup Series, running the Echo Park Automotive Grand Prix at COTA, Austin, Texas. Race airs on Fox, PRN Radio, 3:30 p.m. Eastern, 2:30 p.m. Central Time. They haven't qualified yet for that. Formula E, Indycar, NHRA, all off this weekend. But they're coming back very, very soon.
Mm-hmm.
Like almost all of them next weekend, truth be told.
Mm-hmm.
We got to take a break. When we come back, there were 2 things that on Thursday kind of came down in spades, and we were like, And then Friday, we got a little bit more light on the subject, and I asked John and I asked Matt, which one do you think? And Matt, you even said this. It's kind of 1A, 1B. Mm-hmm. So we decided we're going to lead off with NASCAR because NASCAR dropped a hammer on RFK Racing, Roush Fenway Keselowski. I'm talking a big hammer. I'm talking about Thor hammer. Okay? Big, heavy, weighty, big time, smash. It was like Hulk took Thor's hammer. Bam. It was harsh. Yes, RFK Racing is appealing. We'll tell you all about it. When we come back, we're just underway right here on CRN.
Don't touch that dial. The Championship Racing Network will be right back. fuel only, fuel only. Go, go, go. We're back to the Championship Racing Network.
Yeah, we are. I want to take a couple of moments to thank our fine sponsors here, including portions of the show being brought to you by our good friend Michael Hart and Ox Foundation Solutions. Had another week of storms rolling through the central Alabama area, and here's the thing. Maybe you didn't get affected, maybe you did. Maybe you just got a bunch of rain. Don't discount a bunch of rain affecting your house in a very negative way. It certainly could. It doesn't just mean tornadoes and high winds. Rain certainly can as well, especially with the clay soil that we have here in central Alabama. So don't take chances with your likely biggest investment ever. You want to make sure that the foundation of the house, the base of the house, the legs that it stands on are as solid as can possibly be, and that's where our good friend Michael Hart and Ox Foundation Solutions come in. Write down this number, and I'll give it to you again so that you'll have it, or an email address, 205-362-6419, or mike@oxfoundations.com. And if you're anywhere in the state of Alabama, it doesn't matter where, all the way up to the Tennessee state line, all the way down by Gulf Shores and Orange Beach, over by the Mississippi state line, or hugging the Georgia state line. Doesn't matter. He can go anywhere within the state of Alabama. Come out to your house, give you a no-cost, no-obligation written foundation assessment of your house and its foundation. You ain't got nothing to lose there, do you? No cost to you, and you find out whether or not there's anything wrong with the house. And Michael's an honest guy. He's not going to tell you that there's something wrong with the house when there's not. If there's something wrong with the house, though, you have it in written form, and he'll sit down and he'll explain it to you, and he'll tell you about how much it's going to cost. He's got the estimate right there. Then you tell him, I heard about it on CRN. Heard the promo code WEST. He does 15% off right there. Can't beat that with a stick. No cost, no obligation, written foundation assessment. Set it up now. Make the appointment. Call Michael 205-362-6419 or email him mike@oxfoundations.com. Don't forget the promo code WEST and tell him you heard about it right here on CRN. All right. So what's the big hammer that NASCAR dropped on Roush Fenway Keselowski Racing? And it turns out it's actually on driver Brad Keselowski. NASCAR says that the 6 team, and remember, this is a new for 2022 driver in that 6 car in Brad, said that they illegally modified a supplied part. It's a big no-no this season with the Gen 7 stocker. So the penalty? 100 driver points. The 6 car docked 100 owner points. And for crew chief Matt McCall, who's been fined $100,000, also has to sit out 4 races.
I think the worst of this is 100 driver points.
Yeah. The plunge, the results of this plunge Keselowski down to 35th in the standings afterward. He was top 20 before that. He's now 35th.
He was top 15.
He's now last amongst all full-time drivers in the Cup Series. Here's the thing. They're not done yet. NASCAR said, should Keselowski be able to recover and make the playoffs this year, he will start the playoffs with a 10-point penalty there. Youch.
Ow.
Again, seems the team illegally modified a supplied part. This is a supplier who sends the exact same part to all the teams, okay? Again, big no-no with the new Gen 7. What part was illegally modified and how it was modified? How it was modified, we're not really sure. We did find out later what part it was.
That part was actually, and this is from the social media of one Bob Pockers of Fox Sports. From everything he has been told from people who should know and confirmed by people who should know, the Keselowski violation has to do with a rear body panel modification.
But we don't know exactly what modification they did.
This falls back on a conversation we had a few weeks ago. NASCAR, be transparent.
Yes.
Put it out there to what was done, how it missed the tolerances, modifications, of whatever your guidelines are in the rule book. Put it out there for transparency.
Yeah.
Okay, this is what was out of tolerance. This is what the tolerance of the rule book is. This is how far it was out of tolerance or how it was illegally modified.
Yeah, exactly.
And show it in black and white.
Number one, that's detailed information for every other car that's out there. Number two, for one of the most fan-friendly sports that's out there, NASCAR.
Yeah.
It helps the fans because now they begin to understand things a little bit better.
Right.
NASCAR Senior VP of Competition, Scott Miller, did say this, quote, to make sure that all of those things stay above the board, there's going to have to be a culture shift from the way that the teams and NASCAR do business. So this deterrence model has more meaningful penalties. You mean harsher. But I think, Miller continued, we all thought that it was time for this with the introduction of the new car. Well, RFK Racing's not going to take this lying down. They responded Thursday, going on to social media, posted on the team's official Twitter account, quote, in connection with the penalties announced Wednesday, by NASCAR, we have filed notice of appeal and look forward to the opportunity to work through the process. Now, despite the fact that they have appealed the overall penalties, Matt McCall is actually going to sit out this weekend's race at COTA. RFK Racing said that they're not seeking a deferment. What they're going to do is wait on the appeal itself. The appeal may or may not be heard next week. I'm thinking they're probably going to try and at least get the first appeal out of the way. I think this is a double appeal situation.
It is. But wait, there's more.
Of course there is.
Pre-qualifying tech yesterday. 4 teams had crew members ejected due to failing technical inspection twice.
Was one of them maybe the 6th?
77 car engineer ejected.
Engineer. Wow, okay.
50 car, which is Floyd Mayweather's
Oh,
pit.
that's right. The money team.
Chassis specialist ejected.
Chassis specialist. Okay.
66 car that Boris Said's piloting.
Yeah.
Chassis specialist ejected.
Hmm.
The 4th car chief ejected. Car chief ejected. That car, you ask? Car number 6.
6 cars. So the crew chief and the car chief are gone for this weekend.
Somebody said the other day that Brad's coming into team ownership as the same way Michael Waltrip did in 2007.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's pretty much the way that it looks. Well, on top of that, Goodyear officials after the race in Atlanta did finally admit that they are still trying to get all the details right on the new for 2022 18-inch low-profile tires. 3 different cars from 3 different teams. All of them happen to be Chevrolets, though. Ross Chastain from Trackhouse Racing, Tyler Reddick from Richard Childress Racing, and Ricky Stenhouse Jr. from JTG Dougherty Racing all suffered right rear tire failures during different parts of the race last weekend in Atlanta last Sunday. Laps 94, 145, and 202, respectively, amongst the 3 of them. Chastain's was a single-car incident at the time, and the team was able to recover, and, as we talked about during the recap, recovered for a second-place finish. Reddick, on the other hand, spun and collected a dozen cars. Stenhouse tire failure took out another 4.
The big one, 1 and 2.
Greg Stucker of Goodyear told media after the race they're looking into what might have caused it. He's the racing director for Goodyear Tires. He said, quote, a varying number of laps before an issue. They're all the same manufacturer. We do know that. I mentioned it. They're all Chevy. Stucker added, that's a little suspicious. The fact that it's the right rear is kind of unique and strange because the right rear is not the most heavily loaded position on the car. That's the right front.
Whoa.
Our resident driver needs to check in.
Whoa. How can you determine that the right rear is not the most heavily loaded position on the car and it's the right front? Negative, Ghost Rider. When you're going into corner entry, the left front is the heavily loaded position. When you're on corner exit, the right rear is the heavily loaded position because all the weight is on the right rear of the car. The car's powering down. The right front, I don't see that. I don't see that.
There you go. So Stucker continues. So we're trying to understand what's going on. We didn't see anything at all in practice. We had guys put 50-plus laps on tires in practice. We saw nothing at all, no indication of anyone having any sort of issue whatsoever. He said that they've collected those tires in question, took them back to their R&D headquarters in Akron, Ohio. Goodyear hoping to find what might have been the ultimate cause. They also need to get things from those teams like suspension setups, air pressure when the tires were put on, and other factors that help teams and Goodyear try to avoid such incidents in coming races. Under what do we want to call it? Under ideal circumstances, if the car is just sitting on pit road,
no load.
Okay. How is the suspension set up, so to speak?
Your right side ride heights are, on average, depending on which track you're running, on average, ride heights are anywhere, I'm going to say maybe from, let's just give a general range, 1/2 inch to 1 inch higher than your left side. Why? Because your right side takes the highest load. Depending on the track, your left front can be higher because of how the car pivots into the corner. Because the car actually, for our, and I'm going to go elementary level on Greg Stucker here. Picture it as an X. Car goes in a corner, it transitions from left front to right rear for how centripetal force and weight transfers and rolls the car.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing on dirt, same thing on asphalt. It pivots in an X, okay? But and I'm going to go from 3rd grade to 1st grade here. When you go from tires that probably have, I'm going to say, a solid 4 to 5 inch, maybe even 6 inch sidewall to a tire that only has a 3 inch sidewall, that'll do it.
It will.
When you have cars that are running, especially in Atlanta, running 180, 182 miles an hour sustained, and not backing out as much, cars are loading up harder, cars are rolling over more. Guess what?
Yeah. We noticed that during practice and qualifying, in the fact that, for all intents and purposes, they weren't really lifting off the accelerator at all.
Barely breathing it, if any.
So a lot of pressure was put on those tires.
A lot was.
It's going to be interesting to see what happens between now and Talladega when we start to go back to kind of the same aero package and see what, if anything, may have changed. Meantime, our thoughts and our prayers for a speedy recovery and a return to the track going out to Joe Gibbs Racing crew member David Odell. David Odell is the jack man for the number 20 car driven by Christopher Bell. Odell had to get stitches in his calf when he suffered an injury during a pit stop last Sunday in Atlanta. He was actually treated and released at the Infield Care Center, but he didn't rejoin the team for pitting the car the rest of the day. The 20 team actually used Kyle Busch's jackman, Kellen Mills. He was available because Busch had crashed out earlier in the race. Odell likely will be available for the Cup race tomorrow at COTA, but we haven't gotten 100% confirmation on that particular situation.
Yeah.
All right, let's see where we are here. We're in a time situation where we're going to show you a couple of pictures here if you're watching our YouTube feed. Again, you can go onto YouTube, look up CRN Live, which we suggest that you go ahead and do, because, again, we're going to show you some pictures of some of the things that we got coming up here over the next, 2, 3, 4 segments, whatever, of which we got 4 segments left in the show. So, hey, stick around. So we got visuals to go along with all of this. So stay close. We'll get into that when we come back. We're going to show you a couple of new paint schemes that are coming out throughout the course of the year for Front Row Motorsports, Petty GMS Racing. Bubba Wallace has one in the Xfinity Series, and we've even got a new paint scheme coming out of the NHRA. We don't talk about that a whole lot, but we're going to this week as well. Plus, we got huge news from Formula One, which might affect whether or not Formula One actually races tomorrow. Huh? Yeah. All that and more still to come right here on CRN.
Stay right here for more on the Championship Racing Network. 4 tires and 2 cans of fuel, and we're back to more racing action on the Championship Racing Network.
Hey, welcome back in. Steve West, Matt Nicholson, producer John Myers here on this Saturday, last one of the month of March, and 4 weekends away from Talladega.
Uh-huh.
Unbelievable.
I know. Time's flying. For those of you that are watching via our YouTube feed, you get to check this out again, CRN Live on YouTube. Front Row Motorsports resigned a 2021 sponsor that happened to be on their car in the season finale last season at Phoenix, called Boot Barn. Company's coming back to sponsor David Gilliland and the number 38 Ford Mustang for 4 races this season. Tomorrow at COTA, and then later on in the year, Charlotte at the Coca-Cola 600. That's a nice one. Nashville, and again at the season finale in Phoenix. In addition, they're going to be an associate sponsor in all the other races this year. On top of that, the company will also sponsor Truck Series driver Zane Smith in 3 races, which covers all the 2022 races for Smith in the Camping World Truck Series as far as sponsorship totally. It now means he's fully sponsored for the year. You can see the picture that shows both the 38 Mustang and the truck as well. We want to send thanks out to jski.com for that particular picture.
Up there.
Yeah, something like that. Then the next picture is of Petty GMS Racing. Now, they've gotten several commitments for the upcoming Bristol Dirt Race. Now, Food City, which if you're a longtime fan of NASCAR, you've heard it called, or referenced as the Food City 500 before. It's a local supermarket to the Bristol area. Then you got your noted laundry detergents, Gain and Tide, brands under the same parent company. They formed up to sponsor both Eric Jones on the number 43 and Ty Dillon on the number 42. I think we only got the number 43, though, right, John? Dillon will feature the Gain brand, Jones showcasing the Tide name and colors, as you can see on our YouTube feed. Both cars will have Food City along the back flanks. That picture, of course, courtesy of jski.com as well. Pretty good-looking car for the Tide car, I got to admit.
The Gain car looks really good, too.
I agree. I'm not as big on green, but Gain did a pretty good job with it.
It looks good.
All right. As we transition here from Cup into Xfinity Series news, understand that this weekend actually marks the beginning of the Xfinity Series Dash for Cash series of 4 races. How, you ask? Because this one isn't a money one. COTA is a qualifier. This means this is where the drivers who have declared as running for points in the Xfinity Series this year will battle to figure out who's going to be the top 4 finishers. Those top 4 guys then go into next weekend at Richmond, and the top finisher at Richmond of those 4 gets a nice check for $100,000. Each and every week, the foursome can, and likely does, change. The driver who finishes best amongst that foursome again each week walks away with a $100,000 bonus. Now, it hasn't happened yet, but should one driver sweep the 4 races, $400,000 bonus. Not bad. Plus, I think there's a bonus on top of that. Mm-hmm. It used to be you could get $1 million, but I think they've backed off of that total.
I think it's 500.
There you go. That said, multiple drivers have claimed more than 1 race in the past. Wouldn't surprise me if we see that again.
No.
Not at all. I don't know who to call when it comes to this, because I even mentioned this when we talked about it. I was looking squarely at row 2 out of the Xfinity Series, which is Cole Custer and AJ Allmendinger. Mm-hmm. Either of those drivers, neither would surprise me that they end up victory lane. I mean,
16 car gets my heavier bet than the 07.
I would agree, but
Easily.
don't overlook Cole Custer in that particular situation. He's quietly become quite a good road course racer. We'll see what happens. AJ Allmendinger, to me, though, unless something happens that is beyond his control, I think he's probably one of the 4. Ty Gibbs probably one of those 4 too. I think that's probably a fairly safe bet.
I'll say out of Gibbs, Allmendinger, I'm going to say Sheldon Creed qualifies.
Okay.
Probably.
That 4th one's hard to figure.
Yeah, real hard.
Yeah, I got you.
I'm going to say Daniel Hemrick.
Okay. Not a bad guess. Be interesting to see. Let's go to our 3rd picture over here. And as we've noted over the last couple of weeks, Gms Racing's Xfinity Series lineup of cars includes this year's star car. That star car being the number 18 this year. Continues to see newer and newer drivers added pretty much to the schedule almost every week now. Your latest addition, Bubba Wallace from Satellite Operation 2311. No, not 23x1. 2311 Racing. He will slide over to drive the number 18 for 2 races this year. Today at COTA, and then later this year, coming up in August, when they go to Indianapolis Motor Speedway and run on the road course race there in August, he's going to get behind the wheel of the 18 then. He will be sponsored by Dr. Pepper. This photo that you see on CRN Live is courtesy of jski.com. And this marks, by the way, a return to Joe Gibbs Racing for Wallace of a sort. He drove for the Xfinity Series for the team part-time in 2012 and 2014, running 6 races in the number 20 Toyota, claimed a pole and 4 top 10 finishes over that time. He added 1 Xfinity Series race last year. He's got 86 Xfinity Series starts in his career total. Again, Dr. Pepper, an associate sponsor on the number 23 Cup Series car, going to be the primary sponsor for the car later today. That's not an actual picture of the car, by the way, as John noted. It's a computer simulation of what the car will look like when it hits the track later on this afternoon.
Mm-hmm.
Then you got this bit of information as we transition over to the Camping World Truck Series and get ready to wrap up NASCAR news as we get ready to head into hour number 2.
Funny we start off with this team.
Rayon Brothers Racing. We don't often talk about them, but they announced a driver who is set to make his NASCAR debut later today in one of their trucks. Brad Perez is a native of Hollywood, Florida. He's been a tire specialist for several teams over the years, but he's also a driver. He started in karts, moved his way up into Sports Car Club of America, or SCCA Racing, and then debuted in stock cars in the ARCA Menard Series last year when they ran at Watkins Glen. He ran in the top 10 most of the race, but had problems with the car, relegated him to a 24th place finish. He will get the start later today. Now, SCCA means sports car, which means probably a pretty good amount of road course racing.
A lot of road course racing in a Mazda Miata.
I know. I was about to say, how much, if any, of that knowledge can he transition into the truck series?
That much. 0.
Well, let me ask it from a different point of view. Assuming, and we don't know this because I didn't look up the full records of wherever he's raced in SCCA competition. Let's assume that he has even one race in SCCA competition at COTA.
Mm-hmm.
Does any knowledge of the track from that race or number of races that he may have run, does any of that become applicable when he gets behind the wheel of the truck?
For hitting your marks and knowing where your throttle points are, yes.
And then you got to get used to this big, humongous beast of a Camping World Truck Series truck.
And he's rolling off 32nd today.
So far, hasn't helped.
He posted no time.
Oh, well, even worse. Hey, let's get to picture number 4 here. And this one also courtesy of jski.com, where AM Racing has confirmed they're going to enter a second truck in select races this season. We were talking about this as the season was getting ready to begin. They were talking about doing exactly this. The first run for that second truck is today's race at COTA, where Logan Bearden, who is an Austin, Texas native, is going to drive the number 37 Chevrolet Silverado, and he will be teamed with their second driver, or first driver, I guess if you want to put it that way, Austin Wayne Self. Now,
It's
Bearden...
so purple.
It is. Bearden has said that this situation has kind of gotten him ready to see if he can't do more. He feels like he's so ready to do this that he is ready to move from Austin, Texas to Statesville, North Carolina to work with the team because he wants to get more time behind the wheel of the truck. But AM Racing, this should be a caution flag for one Logan Bearden. AM Racing said that they're likely going to use a driver rotation for the truck to shake it down throughout the course of the season, and likely use those races as kind of a tryout of sorts. I got to give Logan Bearden credit for the dedication to wanting to be that driver, but he's going to move there for an unknown number of races.
That's what you call taking a bet on yourself there, bud.
Go for it, man. AM Racing has said that they want to make this 37 truck a full-time truck next year, so they're going to have to figure out who they're going to put behind the wheel. Logan Bearden making his dedicated plans to move there, even though he's not even guaranteed to get multiple races this year.
But
in there.
Will be starting 21st today.
That's a good start, middle of the pack. Veteran crew chief Jamie Jones going to be calling the shots for Bearden today. Again, thanks to jski.com for the picture that is on our CRN Live YouTube page. Then there's this.
Happening in our own backyard.
Yes, it did. We talked about the penalties against Brad Keselowski and RFK Racing. Well, how about this one? Young's Motorsports is without crew chief Eddie Traconis. Eddie calls the shots, generally, on the 02 Chevrolet Silverado, but he's been suspended again for charges related to a confrontation that he had with NASCAR spotter Clayton Hughes at Talladega last fall. That's a big no-no. You cannot have massive confrontations with fans, other NASCAR competitors, or, according to the rule book, NASCAR officials. Oops. The charges initially had been dropped by a prosecutor back in February. NASCAR, because the charges have been dropped, lifted the suspension, allowed him to be crew chief at the beginning of the year. However, Talladega Sheriff's Department arrested him, charging him with felony second-degree assault. The charge effectively reinstated. Again, March 18th, he was arrested. He posted a $7,500 secure bond. He was released. But with the charge and the arrest, NASCAR has once again suspended Traconis indefinitely as the case proceeds. This season, he's worked with two different drivers, Kaz Gralla and Jesse Little. He's a veteran crew chief, 144 Truck Series, 20 Xfinity Series races under his belt, including 2 Truck Series wins back when he was calling the shots for Ben Rhodes at Thorsport Racing. Young's Motorsports did not announce immediately who was going to take Traconis' place today with, I do believe, Kaz Gralla behind the wheel. Mm-hmm. Where'd you say he was rolling off?
18th.
18th, so not bad overall. We dealt with this a lot in the aftermath of Talladega last fall. He got upset over really what was a judgment call, as I kind of remember. And Traconis felt that the judgment call was way off base. And he went out there and he got into, we didn't get full details on exactly what happened. We don't know whether he punched him, whether he slapped him, whether he chest bumped him, whether he put his finger in his chest. We don't know what the physical confrontation really was. But NASCAR's taken the rule book to the nth degree and said, hey, physical confrontation and charges of assault, which tells me it's a little bit more than a finger in the chest.
That's why if you do any kind of finger pointing at anybody, you get about that close to them.
Yeah, don't touch. But anyway, again, felony second-degree assault is the charge. Again, I think it's a little bit more than a finger to the chest. We'll find out.
Got something else to come down from Truck Series late last night.
Okay.
We have a new entry that is confirmed. He's going to be running the Bristol Dirt Truck Race.
Yes.
That person you ask, he will be piloting a David Gilliland Racing entry, which will be the number 17, all but given.
Mm-hmm.
That driver you ask, Joey Logano.
Oh. Okay.
When you win the dirt race last year in the Cup,
yes,
why do you want to step back and run the truck race too?
Sounds like DGM Racing is hoping for big things from the truck and wanted to go get a guy who actually had a winning heritage. I don't know. Money.
Hey, David, you got Ryan Preece. He's just as good.
Ryan knows how to run on dirt. There's no doubt about it.
Better even.
If you can't tell.
And on that note,
producer John has a fairly low opinion of one Joey Logano. Duh. Let's go ahead and take a break. When we come back, IndyCar Formula One. We don't have any Formula E. We don't have any Superstar Racing Experience Series news for this particular week. But we'll get to open wheel. But first things first. We'll talk a little straight line racing. We got some NHRA news when we come back. Hour 1 in the books here at CRN.
We will be right back with more on the Championship Racing Network.
RPM Autoland.
Darlington.
2 tires only, and back out to the track for more action on the Championship Racing Network.
All right, let's start off with some interesting news here. Randy Meyer Racing is entering a car into the Funny Car Chaos exhibition event at Texas at the Texas Motorplex. The driver is somebody you probably have never heard of unless you pay pretty close attention to lower divisions. His primary driver in some of the lower divisions, Julie Natas, Nataas, top alcohol drag racer in her prime or in her regular job, set to make her Camping World Drag Racing Series debut here as well. Randy Meyer said about the car, quote, "I wanted a new challenge. We were looking to diversify our operation and help drivers that want to eventually move up to fuel Funny Car, but can't get experience anywhere else. The Funny Car Chaos deal is becoming a more and more popular thing here in the Midwest, so we found this an opportunity to go race close to home, have some fun, take on a new challenge without necessarily having all of the pressures of trying to qualify and get into the top 16 bracket for the finals." Natas said of the situation and echoing Randy Meyer's sentiments and excitement, said, quote, "I can't even describe how excited I am, not just for me to drive the car, but for the whole team. I've been wanting to drive a funny car for a while, so when Randy asked me if I wanted to drive, I couldn't say no. It's going to be a new and exciting project for all of us. The car is a modified 2016 chassis that was, in its prime time, a top alcohol funny car, not a top nitro, as the Camping World Drag Racing Series funny car division is. This is, again, kind of taking advantage of a loophole here. There currently aren't any rules for funny cars at the nitro level. So this is something that the NHRA is allowing, but says that they're going to be watching very closely because this may set a precedent for some rules that will come into effect as they get ready to deal with some of this coming up down the line.
Right.
Then there's picture number 5. If you're watching on our CRN Live YouTube page, this is Justin Ashley Racing. They have signed an extension with their sponsor, Phillips Connect, and you'll see the car on our YouTube feed now. Phillips Connect is a national leader in semi-trailer tracking and sensor tech. This covers the full 2022 season on their top fuel entry. Initially, it was a 3-race deal. It covered the first 3 events of this particular season. But a win and a semifinal result in those 3 convinced the company to remain on the car for the rest of the season at least. So congratulations to Justin Ashley Racing and to Phillips Connect for making that connection and covering the rest of the year. And then there is Bob Tasca III. By the way, NHRA.com gave us the picture for Justin Ashley Racing. When Bob Tasca III arrives in Vegas to defend his win in the 4-wide nationals next weekend, he's going to have sponsorship from a company called BG Products. They're a leading manufacturer of auto maintenance products. The deal with BG Products is a 3-race thing. They will also be primary, not just at Vegas, but at Charlotte for their 4-wide nationals, the ZMAX drag race, and at Topeka, Kansas. This marks the first time that BG, which has long been an associate sponsor of Tasca's, will be a primary sponsor for them. Last weekend was a historical weekend in Indycar and for Team Penske. Really more for Team Penske, really, than IndyCar. The win by Joseph Newgarden that we recapped about an hour ago, where he made the pass on his teammate, Scott McLaughlin, turns 3 and 4. I mean, literally coming off of turn 4 is when he completed the pass on the final lap as they're coming to the checkered flag. Claims yet another win for team owner Roger Penske. Penske, well known as a winner, really ever since beginning his race team some 56 years ago. Penske has owned cars in numerous series all around the world. So that means he's racked up a bunch of wins. But you might not have realized just how many. That win last Sunday by Newgarden, Team Penske's 600th as an organization. Nice milestone.
Very good milestone.
The first win came all the way back in 1966 when 3 drivers, Dick Goldstrand, George Winterstein, and Ben Moore, combined to claim the overall win in the Rolex 24 Hours of Daytona. Win number 100 went to Bobby Unser in IndyCar in Michigan, 1971. It took him all the way till 1997 to claim win number 200. That went to Paul Tracy, who was driving the Indycar car at Gateway Motorsports Park that year. Win number 300 coming 11 years later. Another IndyCar win with Ryan Briscoe behind the wheel at the Milwaukee Mile. Then NASCAR started coming into play. Wins 400 and 500 came at the hands of Brad Keselowski. 400 at Richmond in 2014. Vegas with Brad Keselowski in 2018. And now win number 600 back to IndyCar, Newgarden, and Texas 2021. Mm-hmm. In all, 50 different drivers have claimed wins for Team Penske over that time in 14 different series. The most wins in any one series being, IndyCar, 224. NASCAR's Cup Series is next, 134. Xfinity Series third at 81. And then we start kind of going around the world. The next most wins, 54 out of the Australian V8 Supercar Series. He claims 32 wins in IMSA Racing. There are also wins in, these varying in numbers, by the way, SCCA Trans Am Racing, Can-Am Racing, USRRC Racing, the ARCA Series, World Endurance Challenge Series, Formula 5000, USAC stock cars, back when that was a thing. It ain't no more. Formula One, and there's some other lesser FIA-governed competition series that Penske's claimed wins in. Yeah, let's just say Roger Penske knows racing and likes to win. Mm-hmm. Congratulations on win number 600.
Absolutely.
How long is it going to take to get to win 700?
Well, considering that it only took less
than 4 years.
Less than 3-4 years.
Yeah. Well, it's about 3.5 years because that was the fall,
3.5,
fall Vegas race to spring in Texas. So 3.5 years. 2025, early 2026.
Yeah, I could go with that.
If they keep winning at the pace that they're at. But keep in mind, they don't have the Xfinity team any longer, so that might slow it down a little bit. Last weekend, we noted Santino Ferrucci finished 9th at Texas Motor Speedway. Thing about this is he wasn't supposed to be in this race. Jack Harvey was set to drive the number 45 Hy-V sponsored Chevrolet powered entry for Rahal Letterman Lanigan Racing. But after he had a practice crash last Saturday, the doctors for the series would not clear him to race. So RLL called in Santino Ferrucci. The 23-year-old Connecticut native flew in, jumped in the car, marked his first IndyCar race since last year's Music City Grand Prix. It's one of 5 races in 2021 he ran for Rahal Letterman Lanigan, and just turns around and silently puts up another top 10 for him. Hint to Rahal Letterman Lanigan. I know Santino Ferrucci's been trying to run NASCAR a little bit more, but get the guy in an IndyCar car full time.
That would be in the best interest.
Sure. I think it would, truth be told, it would certainly be in the best interest for Rahal Letterman Lanigan Racing. He's proved what he can do. And no disrespect to Santino Ferrucci's aspirations in stock car racing, but he's doing a lot better in IndyCar than he's done in NASCAR.
Yeah, and he's not doing a half bad job in stock cars.
That's true, but he's doing a better job in IndyCar.
True.
Over the past couple of weeks, we talked about this new spec engine that IndyCar wants to bring in. Recently, the news came out that they were delaying its debut from next year to 2024. But that said, testing is set to begin this coming week at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. The new engines, as we've noted here on the show, move up. Currently, IndyCar is running 2.2-liter twin turbocharged V6 engines. In 2024, they become 2.4-liter twin turbo V6s, obviously bringing in more horsepower. They're talking about they could get up to about 1,000 horsepower, which rivals what Formula One's pushing out.
Anybody, I'm begging you that covers and does any kind of media work for this test, I want to see the speed chart.
Oh, yeah. I want video. I think it'd be cool. Monday and Tuesday, teams representing the two engine providers, Chevrolet and Honda, will be on hand. But series officials moved the test from Sebring to Indianapolis. They're going to put him, though, on the SCCA road course. It's different than what IndyCar runs on the road course, starting from about turn 5 all the way until you get back around to the front straight. It's to try and keep any team from getting kind of any advantage on the 2 races they're going to run on the Indy road course this year. And you go, wait a minute, 2 races? That's right. First weekend in the month of May, they're going to run at Barbara Motorsports Park. Second weekend, they're going to run on the Indy road course. And then 2 weeks later is the Indy 500. And then remember, we go back in August, and that's the doubleheader weekend when Xfinity and Indy run on the road course on Saturday and the Cup Series run on the road course on Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, they're going to run the SCCA version of the road course as opposed to the IndyCar Cup Series, Xfinity Series version, just to try and limit any hints that the teams that are going to be there practicing will get.
Put them on the oval.
Yeah, that's what we really want to see. We want to really see that.
Put them on the oval.
Then there's Dreyer and Reinbold Racing. And we talk about this team. We generally only talk to them really about a couple of times a year. Mostly it deals with the Indy 500. Yes, we've confirmed we're going to have an Indy 500 entry, but we haven't figured out who the driver is. And then later on they come back and go, yeah, here's our driver. And then maybe we get to mention them depending on where they finish. They have entered every single Indy 500 since the year 2000. But in 2020, they did the 3 Indy road course races in that season that was altered by the COVID pandemic as well. And there had been some noise that Dreyer and Reinbold Racing was considering doing something that they actually haven't done since 2012, which is run most, if not the full, IndyCar season. Well, Dennis Reinbold, the owner, said, don't hold your breath waiting for that to happen. He talked to motorsport.com regarding 2020. He said, quote, we were gearing up for things at the start of that year. We were at St. Pete ready to go for the first race, but that was the first one affected by COVID restrictions, so it didn't happen. Since then, we're building back up. He lost sponsorship money out of that, by the way. Since then, we're building back up, but I don't know if we're going to do more races. Probably not this season. We could do the full schedule, but it's a matter of finding the finances to do it, which, welcome to the world. And we've got our hands full this year with 8 Nitro Rallycross cars. We're really excited about that. It's going to be a global series, and it's going to make a lot of sense for the manufacturers. So firstly, when it comes to IndyCar, our focus is on the Indy 500. That's why we exist as a team. All of our team is basically based out of here. I grew up just a mile and a half from the track. That's why I started the team. I wanted to be part of the Indy 500, and that is the biggest priority we have. In the past, Dreyer and Reinbold Racing has been pretty consistent about entering Oriol Servia as their driver.
Mm-hmm.
This year, they're going with Sage Karam as their driver in the Indy 500.
Not a surprise.
Not really.
No.
It's interesting. If you start to read between the lines here, yeah, we've got those 8 Nitro Rallycross things, and he wants to do the worldwide deal, which less expensive probably to enter, but it's a world traveling series. It's probably got more sponsorship for it, though.
Yes, it does. It does.
But it seems to me as he's left the door open here. I don't think it's open wide, but it's open a foot, maybe 2 feet, that says, given the proper opportunity, I'd be happy to go back and run maybe not the full IndyCar schedule, but a majority of the races.
Yeah.
I would say the majority of the races being the ones that are east of the Mississippi. Based out of Indianapolis makes sense. Cuts down a little bit on the travel expenses to go too far west.
I could go with that. Yeah.
You know, or I might even go Texas and Iowa east, because Iowa's give or take 8-hour drive or so, 8 to 10 hour drive from Indianapolis. You know, Texas, not a bad shot to get down there.
Right.
Anything further west, I think he might say, you know what, I'll sit those out, but I'll do the ones east of Texas and Iowa.
I could see that.
I'd like to see it, truth be told.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah, I'd like to see it because we've talked about this team over the course of time. They seem, unfortunately for them, they seem like kind of a hard luck team. I'd like to see them be able to come in and, you know, I mean, it's his dream to run in Indianapolis, but at the same point in time, it seems like something of a waste to just run 1 or 2 or maybe even 3 races
Yeah.
We don't even know whether he's going to run the 2 Indy road course races this year. All we know is he's entering the Indy 500.
If I had 8 Nitro Rallycross cars, I would be questioning things too. Simply put.
I understand that. Then back to the subject of John's favorite IndyCar driver. We noted last week that NASCAR and Hendrick Motorsports are teaming up on what is termed as a Garage 56 entry. This is a spec division in World Endurance Challenge Series that allows a highly modified car to come in this case, a highly modified Gen 7 NASCAR stock car entry into the 2023 24 Hours of Le Mans. Those plans were unveiled a week ago last Thursday, but at the time, we didn't really get any other details, like a driver lineup. And it left a whole lot of people speculating as to who might be driving. Well, one driver who is interested is 7-time Cup Series champion Jimmie Johnson, who last year was an underwhelming IndyCar Series rookie.
Very.
Just experience.
Last year?
Yeah. Just experienced his best series finish last weekend in Texas, as we talked about during the recap about an hour ago, where he finished 6th. Johnson, before he finished that 6th, he said on qualifying day last Saturday, quote, "I'm definitely interested. Haven't had any serious talks. I know there is interest for me to be in the car. I know Mr. Hendrick would love for me to be in the car, and Chad, his old Cup Series crew chief, Chad Knaus, has been at the track." Rick Hendrick himself said of his former Cup champion, quote, "I haven't talked to Jimmy yet," unquote. "I'm sure he would do it if he didn't have a conflict," he said during the announcement of this particular entry in Sebring, Florida. Johnson is pretty well known as a half-decent road course racer. He's been working with Hendrick Action Express Racing and select IMSA races, mostly as one of the drivers in the longer endurance races, reading 12 hours or longer when the schedule works in with his IndyCar obligations. Hendrick has said he will decide on his driver lineup, which seems likely to include at least one and possibly more of his Cup Series drivers, assuming the schedule does not interfere.
Right.
Chase Elliott and Kyle Larson have experience in the 24 Hours of Daytona, so that helps their cause. Elliott said at Atlanta that Rick had indeed mentioned that the possibility to him. And Hendrick also added that his vice chairman at Hendrick Motorsports, Jeff Gordon, could also be a candidate. And then Hendrick said with a little wink of his eye and a smile on his face, "I'd have to put Jeff on a diet to do it."
If you think for 1 second Jeff Gordon would pass up a chance to run at Le Mans,
Are
you're
you
crazy.
kidding?
You're crazy.
There ain't a driver / retired driver that wouldn't jump at this opportunity. Heck, if he talked to Tony Stewart, I bet you Tony Stewart would go, "Yeah, I'll do it."
Sorry, Edsel, but I'm driving. I mean,
It's a chance to go to Le Mans. That's one of the crown jewels, man. I don't care if you're not running for trophies or not.
I have not one single ounce of road racing experience. The only time I've ever drove on a surface of a road course, drove on at something at Barber a few years ago, drove around Barber. And I'm going, oh boy, picture doing this 100 miles an hour quicker.
Uh-huh.
Okay. But if my phone rang and I looked down at my phone and it said, "Hey, Hendrick Motorsports, hey, would you want to go to Le Mans?" The next question I would say is, what time is the plane leaving?
Yeah. When do I get there?
What airport do I need to go to?
Yep. We got to take a break. When we come back, NASCAR, IndyCar, NHRA, even Formula One to a certain extent have started to bring about a whole lot of other activities for the family when it comes to the weekends. We talk about the big one on the Boulevard at Talladega, concerts in the infield, things like that. Carb Day, May 27th, that's Friday, leading up to the Indy 500. They're going to have a triple bill concert, which we'll give you the details of next, right here on CRN.
Don't touch that dial. The Championship Racing Network will be right back. fuel only. Go, go, go. We're back to the Championship Racing Network.
Hey, welcome on back. I'm Steve West, Matt Nicholson, producer John Myers here on this Saturday morning, last weekend of the month of April. Or, I'm sorry, March, getting ready to go into April, Talladega month. I'm excited about Talladega month, can you tell? Looking forward to it very, very much. That being said, if in May you happen to be one of those people planning on trekking up to Indianapolis for the Indy 500, maybe take an extra day, get tickets to Carb Day. This is Friday, May 27th. It's last chance, basically, for practice for those guys leading into the race weekend. That particular day not only is Carb Day, but they're hosting a concert. If you're a 1980s person, this is right up your alley. The opening act of the 3-act triple bill is Morris Day and the Time, well known from the Prince movie Purple Rain. Your middle act is 1980s pop rocker and actor Rick Springfield. Think Jesse's Girl. Don't talk to strangers. And then there's this. This is the reason I could not resist talking about this particular subject. The headliner is a throwback to 1980s supergroups. You might remember Asia or Bad English or any number of others. This group is named Kings of Chaos, made up of a number of solo acts and members of well-known groups from the 1980s. Jack Blades from Night Ranger, Skid Row's Sebastian Bach, John Wade, who had a solo career but was also a lead singer for the Babies and Bad English, Warren DeMartini, guitarist from Rat, Lita Ford, who was a member of the Runaways before having a couple of solo hits of her own, and a couple of lesser-known members from Guns N' Roses, including Matt Sorum, who was also a lead singer for Velvet Revolver. They're going to do a couple of Night Ranger songs, a couple of Skid Row songs. John Waite's going to do a couple of lesser-known Babies songs. Warren DeMartini will take lead on Round and Round and Lay It Down from Rat. Lita Ford will obviously do Cherry Bomb from the Runaways. Yeah, they're going to cover a whole lot of stuff. If you're a 1980s person, which if you're on our flagship station and you listen to it during the course of the week, you probably know 1980s rock pretty well. This is right up your alley.
This sounds like something that needs to be at Throwback Weekend at Darlington Raceway.
It really would have been well done there.
This sounds like something we need to go to.
John's ready for a road trip.
Hey, Dan, you're listening.
Yeah,
There you go, buddy.
Dan, Kings of Chaos. Let everybody at Darlington know, okay? All right, let's, speaking of Darlington, let's kind of go back to NASCAR here real quick because qualifying is going on at COTA for the Cup Series.
They're actually in the first round of practice.
Oh, practice. I'm sorry.
Ooh, that's ugly right there. The one that just wrecked.
I hate it when that happens.
Yeah, Group A is on the track right now. If Group A was to, I just went away from it right here, showing somebody that just blew a right front, the one that we was talking about in the break, that just absolutely ripped the right front entirely off the car.
Ooh, that's not good.
But Kyle Busch just went to the top of the board over AJ Allmendinger barely. If they will hurry up and get back to it, tire just blew going in a straight line. So that's not his fault.
In a straight line. Holy cow.
Coming up through the gears, tire just blew on one Joey Hand's car.
Ouch.
Yeah.
And he is actually having a pretty good practice.
He's inside the top 10 right now.
In a Rick Ware
car.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That partnership with Stewart Haas Racing is paying some dividends.
Do know the top two.
At least for Joey Hand, not necessarily for Cody Ware.
Not the top two, but the top three we do know is Kyle Busch, AJ Allmendinger, and Austin Cindric currently as it sits.
Okay. Then there's Formula One. They're in the third of their 3 practices leading up to tomorrow's race in Saudi Arabia.
They are. And the little theory we had earlier, would Ferrari carry their momentum over update? Yes, they have.
Okay.
Every Ferrari car but one
6 of them, remember. 2 Ferraris, 2 Haas, 2 Alfa Romeos.
is inside the top 9.
Hello,
You have Leclerc leading.
Ferrari.
Pierre Gasly just jumped to second, 9 1/1000ths off of the pace of Leclerc.
Wow. Okay.
Sergio Perez is third. Carlos Sainz is sitting fourth.
That's 2 Ferraris.
Yuki Tsunoda's fifth. Max Verstappen is sitting sixth.
Wow. 6th. Max Verstappen's not having a real good start to the year.
He just laid his first lap down.
Okay. That may be part of it.
Valtteri Bottas is 7th.
That's first Alfa Romeo.
In the best way I could say this of Sky Sports, Zhou Guanyu
That's the second Alfa
is
Romeo car.
8th. Mick Schumacher 9th.
Interesting. It's not Kevin Magnussen.
Lewis Hamilton's 10th.
Oh, dang.
Kevin Magnussen just jumped to 13th. He is 4/10 off of Mick Schumacher.
And,
So they've tightened it up.
and
big
probably and probably not done practicing just yet. So
they have 31 minutes left.
yeah, so we'll should be interesting to see. But yeah, so far it looks like Ferrari is doing a nice bounce back from having a down couple of years where they've been looking up. They've been as low as 5th. A couple of years ago, they finished 5th in the Constructors' Cup standings. And if Enzo Ferrari had been alive for that, he would have been royally ticked off.
Lost it.
He would have lost his mind over that. So yeah, they're liking their resurgence here in at least the early parts of 2021.
Bob Parker's twin brother, Matteo Binotto, is having a great, stellar start to the year for sure.
Yes, he is. All right. That being said, biggest news of the week in Formula One was almost the biggest news of the week overall, except for what happened, as we talked about last hour, with Brad Keselowski and the big penalties in the Cup Series. For Formula One, there's two things here. Let's talk about the first bit. They've been talking about this. They've been negotiating with officials in the city of Las Vegas and the state of Nevada because they want to put a third U.S.-based race there. Thursday, they announced they have indeed come to terms on a deal. Formula One will run in Sin City in 2023 on Thanksgiving weekend. It will be a third U.S.-based race. Miami will be on the schedule next year. Austin, Texas will be on the schedule next year. They've been on the schedule since 2012. This will be the second time, by the way, that Formula One has visited Las Vegas. They went there in 1981, 82, 83, and 84, and they were running on a course that was set up in the Caesars Palace parking lot. Surprised it actually did 4 races.
Yeah.
Details on the route for this race were not given, but it has been said that they want to include some portion of the Las Vegas Strip in this. We'll see. But wait, there's more. Because Formula One is owned by U.S.-based Liberty Media, and Formula One has for years been trying to crack the motorsports market in the United States, they're now saying we could see as many as 4 races in the United States in the near future, because F1 officials are now talking about bringing the series to New York. Now, they've raced at Watkins Glen in the past. They're not talking about taking it to Watkins Glen. They're talking about racing on a city street course in the Big Apple, New York City.
Where are we going to have the paddock area at, what is the name of the stadium? At MetLife Stadium? And they're going to cross the bridge from Jersey into New York?
Sure.
We're going to race in 2 states, not 1.
Yeah, I'm sorry. There is no place in Manhattan
Give me a break.
that you're going to be able to do this. It's going to have to be Brooklyn, Queens, Harlem. Can't even do Staten Island. Long Island, maybe?
This is what eats me alive. And here we go. We're going to dust the soapbox off at 9:33 a.m.
I mean, I give them a lot of credit for having big plans. But I'm sorry. If I'm going to New York, I'm going back to Watkins Glen. I'm going to go back.
Sense.
Yeah, we talked about this before. F1 rated or graded road courses. Watkins Glen, I think, was just off of the top grade that would allow them to run a Formula One race. Last time we checked.
Here we go. Here's my little cheat sheet. La 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 la.
Got to find Watkins Glen.
Watkins Glen is now considered a grade 2.
Okay. You got to go to grade 1. It ain't going to take that much to go from grade 2 to grade 1. Put Watkins Glen back on the F1 schedule. It makes more sense than running the roughshod streets of New York City.
Hey, here's an idea.
I mean, I get it. Formula E is doing it, But you got to remember, they're running kind of on a waterfront course in Brooklyn, which has Manhattan as a backdrop, depending on exactly how you're looking at it.
Hey,
You're not going to get this in Manhattan, boys and girls.
Hey, here's an idea, Stefano Domenicali and Mohammed bin Sulayem.
Yes.
You have 3 current Grade 1 tracks in the U.S.
Oh, here we go.
Circuit of the Americas, obviously.
Which you're running.
The Miami International Autodrome.
Yes. Which is
Number
happening in
2.
the parking lots of Hard Rock Stadium, which is where the Miami Grand Prix is going to happen anyway. So that's 2 of them. Where's the third?
That would be Indianapolis Motor Speedway.
Let's go back to Indianapolis.
Why, if for the life of me, why don't we come up with these gimmick street course races?
I don't know. But wait, there's more. Formula One also, and I would say it's about time, has interest in going back to the continent of Africa. This is a continent Formula One hasn't visited since back in 1993 when they raced on the Kyalami circuit in South Africa. Africa is currently the only continent able to host a race, not Antarctica, that doesn't have one. Domenicali said, quote, on top of America, on top of China, I think there's potential to also be in Africa soon. There's a lot of interest there. For sure, that's another area that is so far missing in the geography of our calendar. He added that with the demand for current races, he feels that Formula One actually could schedule up to 30 races a year. You want to see Lewis Hamilton and all the other drivers who have been complaining about having 23 races in a year quit? Schedule 30. Anyway, he said with the massive spike in popularity, a lot of which he attributes to the Netflix series Formula One Drive to Survive, he said, yeah, he could, with the interest, schedule up to 30 races in a year. But the thing is they're likely not going to get anywhere near 30 anytime too soon. You got your current Concord agreement amongst the drivers, the teams, and the series that caps the number of races in a season to 24. That Concord agreement runs through the 2026 season. This year, 23 are scheduled, presuming, of course, that they do find an actual replacement and announce the replacement for the Russian Grand Prix. We presume
Gobble, gobble.
it'll be in Turkey, where they have been going since the COVID pandemic struck. Again, not confirmed.
This is considering the Circuit of the Americas race for F1 is all but virtually sold out for F1 already.
And remember,
March.
this was the most attended race on the schedule last year. 400,000 people turned the turnstiles last year over the course of that weekend.
Yeah. Due to certain limitations, let's call that. I can't bring myself to go to the Miami Grand Prix this year because it's on Mother's Day. All right.
Yeah, I could see that.
I can't bring myself to do that for a lot of reasons.
Yeah. No, I could understand that.
Why F1, especially for our Southern F1 fans? Why are we scheduling an F1 race on Thanksgiving, which would be on the same Thanksgiving weekend, which is on the same weekend as our in-state Civil War, known as the Iron Bowl weekend?
Sure. Remember, though, Thanksgiving is a uniquely American holiday.
Uniquely American, for sure. Sounds like I'm going to be hitting the airport late Saturday afternoon, headed to Vegas.
You're wanting to go to this, huh?
I'm interested to see how they're going to lay this out and shut the strip down.
Even if it's just a section.
Even if it's just
quote
a
unquote
section.
small section.
Send them down Fremont Street where it's covered.
That would be an interesting one.
Send them down Fremont Street.
Go down to the Fremont district?
Yeah, send them down that. I mean, it's the
Time will tell.
highly tourist area of Las Vegas. They're going to shut it down.
Yeah.
Give me a break.
Especially on Thanksgiving weekend.
Yeah.
It'll be fun. It'll be fun to watch. There's no doubt about it. We'll keep you updated as soon as we find out what the road course or what the street course is going to look like. We'll detail it right here on the show. Yesterday, something bad, pretty in relative terms, really, really close to the Jeddah circuit where Formula One's going to run. We'll detail exactly what that was when we come back. We got to take our final break on this edition of CRN.
We will be right back with more on the Championship Racing Network. tires only. And back out to the track for more action on the Championship Racing Network.
Before we get back into the meat of things here, I want to thank our fine sponsors, including a sponsor of this particular portion of CRN, Ox Foundation Solutions, and our good friend Michael Hart. 205-362-6419 is the number you need to remember, or this email, mike@oxfoundations.com. Remember the promo code WEST. Yes, it is a promo code. Remember that, WEST. That could get you 15% off. When, and I say when, you should do this. You should set up a time and a day for Michael, especially if you can do this anywhere in the state of Alabama. Doesn't matter where. Okay? As long as you're in the state of Alabama, Michael can come to your house. He'll go in, out, up, down, side to side. He's going to go all through that place.
For free.
For free. No obligation and at no cost to you. And find out if there's anything wrong with your foundation. There may not be. But if there is, you'll have it in writing. And he can explain it to you. If there's not, you'll have it in writing. And he'll say, here you go. Thanks. Have a great day. It's just that simple. No cost to you. No obligation to you. You get a written foundation assessment. If there happens to be something wrong, he will take the time to sit down and explain what it is that he's found and explain the charges to you as well. And then that's where that 15% off promo code that I just mentioned, WEST, W-E-S-T, comes into play, because after he explains the cost of what it would be to fix it, you throw that promo code out there, he takes 15% off of that bottom line. Just like that. You ain't got nothing to lose. No cost. No obligation, written foundation assessment, and on top of that, if there's something wrong, you get 15% off just because you heard about it right here on CRN. What are you waiting for? 205-362-6419 or mike@oxfoundations.com. It's just that simple. Or am I wrong?
No, you're not wrong.
All right,
Not
double
wrong at
checking.
all.
I mean, didn't seem all that hard to me. I don't know why you wouldn't do it. I have. Yesterday, a military spokesperson for the group that said that an attack on an oil depot located about 10 kilometers, about 6 miles, east of the Jeddah street circuit that Formula One's going to race on this weekend was done, claimed by a group called the Yemen Houthis. It is a group that is opposed to the current Saudi government. Oh, by the way, spoiler alert for those of you that don't know geopolitics. The Middle East is somewhat unsettled politically.
Shocker.
I know. Ladies and gentlemen, early candidate, understatement of the year. Thank you very much. Yeah. Seems that the Yemen Houthis have been battling the current Saudi government for almost a decade now. Yikes. This was an attack that was done on an Aramco oil depot. It was set on fire, at least, if not outright bombed. Caused a large black plume of smoke to rise up into the air, which was highly visible from the track during Friday practice sessions. Undoubtedly, Sky Sports probably at least had that in the background.
Yeah, they did.
Saudi officials have said, noting the second practice session was delayed by about 15 minutes, things were going to go on as scheduled, most notably the race. Drivers met with F1 President Stefano Domenicali to get updated about the situation. He said in relation to the Houthi-claimed missile attack from about a week ago as well, so they've had 2 attacks in 2 weeks, that security around the racing facility was amped up for this weekend and that the race should go on as scheduled. But the drivers seem...
not happy.
Yeah, I was going to say nervous.
They're not happy.
At least.
Because I don't think, how can you, unless, how to word this, unless you have anti-battery missiles positioned around the track, around the Jeddah street circuit,
Mm-hmm.
I don't think you can truthfully declare and say that security is top-notch at the circuit, because how can you defend against
At a missile.
at a missile? Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
That being said, and I'm going to play devil's advocate here to a certain extent, in trying to put myself in the position of the leadership of this Saudi government opposition group, the Yemen Houthis. If you're looking to gain any form of sympathy on the world for what the Saudi government which is, by all reports, been oppressive, to say the least, and quite frankly, somewhat cruel, if you want to go to the nth degree from some of the reports that we've heard. If they're trying to gain sympathy in the world for their particular cause in trying to unseat the current Saudi government, which may or may not be a bad thing, I'm not going to get into the geopolitics of that. The last thing that you're going to want to do is bomb or missile attack a worldwide sporting event. Now, yes, it will get you a lot of publicity, but in this case, it'll get you very, very bad publicity and turn people's opinion against you.
And then picture the image of where you got like Wile E. Coyote looking with the bug eyes going like, uh-oh, we're in trouble.
We done messed up.
Yeah, we done messed up.
So I kind of get the feeling nothing will happen to the race tomorrow, but I also understand the nervousness of the drivers because, hey, listen, yeah, again, this thing was within 6 miles, give or take, of where you're going to be racing.
Yeah.
I understand their trepidation about it.
Oh, I get it too. I fully
get it. But then
it.
again, I mean, you're going into the Middle East. Again, to put it mildly, a rather unsettled part of the world.
Extremely.
What do you expect? Hate to say it, but this is kind of where things are going.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Witness Ukraine and Russia. Yikes. Anyway. On to better stuff here. On the heels of nabbing a win and a second-place finish with Charles Leclerc and Carlos Sainz, respectively, Scuderia Ferrari, let's say they're partying. They have said that they are close to putting the signatures, by the way, on an extension for the contract for Carlos Sainz. He came over in 2021. He replaced 4-time champion Sebastian Vettel. Vettel claimed all those titles, by the way, at Red Bull. Couldn't come even close to equaling that in Maranello, so they moved on from him.
Yeah.
Seemed to pay off pretty quick, as Sainz and Leclerc seemed to become very fast friends and worked together well as teammates. They claimed double podium finishes in at least 4 races last year and, as noted, kicked off the season with a 1-2 finish this year. Leclerc's already signed a Ferrari through the 2024 season. Plans are to make Sainz's deal at least that long. Both sides seem to agree to this. Ferrari boss Mattia Binotto said, quote, "I think we have found an agreement. It's only a matter of translating it to paper." Sainz seconded it on Sunday morning just before the race last weekend, said, quote, "I think we are close. Very close. Very, very close. Very close. Extremely close. Nearly there."
How close?
Carlos Sainz doing his best impression of Dr. Seuss.
How close, Carlos?
Close. Very close.
Gotcha.
Very, very close. Very close. Extremely close. Nearly there. Okay. So you're saying basically you've got pen in hand ready to go?
It's that close.
It's
How close, John?
Nearly there.
He's so excited. Another celebration also, not only at Ferrari, but at Ferrari customer Haas F1. Team has been a bottom dweller the last couple of years, but they saw both of their drivers advance to Q2. Kevin Magnussen even made it to Q3 in qualifying and ultimately started 7th, next to 7-time Formula One champion Lewis Hamilton. While Mick Schumacher couldn't seem to get around some speed bumps, he finished 11th ultimately. That does mark his best career finish in Formula One, by the way. But the day was really Magnussen's. Magnussen stayed in the top 10 all day. He claimed 5th. For the first time since the Austrian Grand Prix back in 2018, which, by the way, 2018 has been Haas's best season overall to date, where they finished 5th in the final standings. That was the first time that they've been able to claim a points finish at Haas F1. Austrian Grand Prix 2018.
19, 20, 21.
Yeah. With Magnussen's 10 points, Haas is an early 3rd in constructors' point standings. Team principal Gunther Steiner, all smiles, said after the race, quote, "If you think about the last 2 years, then coming back like this, you can't write a story like this. The guys on the racetrack the last 2 years have had tough times, but just kept their head low. We can all be very proud. I'm proud of them. It's just fantastic." This got to the point, and I mentioned this, I can't remember whether I mentioned it during the show or just before it. It led no less than Valtteri Bottas, remember last year, a member of Mercedes, and having a hand in helping Mercedes continue a nice string of Constructor Cup championships that go all the way back to 2013. Now a member of Alfa Romeo, another Ferrari customer, to state that Alfa Romeo is now targeting Haas as a team to beat. I guess we'll see.
Looking at if you're sitting here looking at this FP3 with 9 minutes to go, I think he's throwing smoke because your lead Ferrari car is the Alfa Romeo and Valtteri Bottas himself.
Yeah. Valtteri Bottas, I got to give Alfa Romeo Sauber because that's really the team. They're just title sponsored by Alfa Romeo. I got to give them a lot of credit for going out and getting him.
It's paying off.
Paid off big time already.
It's paying off for sure.
On the other side of the coin is the, just unbelievable double DNF over at Red Bull Racing. Both drivers complained of losing power over the second half of the race. Defending champion Max Verstappen ended up pulling his car into the garage and retiring it with a couple of laps to go. And as we mentioned, just after taking the white flag on the final lap, Sergio Perez spun the car in the first turn, stalled the car out, couldn't get it restarted, so he also got a DNF. The initial reaction to the bad beginning for 2022 was that they had a problem with the fuel system not delivering fuel to the power unit. Team principal Christian Horner said, quote, "It's obviously hugely disappointing to lose the chance of a podium finish. It looks suspiciously like the failures are related to each other. Looks like potentially an issue within the fuel system. So it's very disappointing to lose 30 points. I think the positive side for us is we had a very competitive car. I don't think we had quite the pace of Charles, but there was some great racing between Max and Charles. I think when you look at it from a season's perspective, we need to get on top of the issue, whatever it was, and come back next weekend." So what was the issue? Well, over the course of the week, they started digging into it. And Thursday, at Saudi Arabia, a Red Bull spokesman said of the problem, both cars suffered from a lack of fuel pressure last weekend. The correct amount of fuel was in both cars, but a vacuum prevented the fuel pumps from drawing fuel and then delivering it to the engine. We've taken the necessary steps to correct this issue. We expect no problems this weekend, at least related to that.
Gentlemen, in layman's terms, here's what that means. You had a fuel line that got a little bit of air sucked into it, got down to the pump, therefore causing the fuel pump to vapor lock, causing the engine to shut down. End of story. Vapor locking, they'll do it every time, boys.
Could it be the routing of the fuel line, or what do you think might have been the cause of that?
There could have been, there's one or two things that could have happened. A fuel line could have gotten loose just enough to a point to where air was being pulled into the fuel line, therefore going down to the pump, causing the pump to vapor lock.
Over the course of a race when you're pumping
happen.
That much fuel through it, yeah, I can see that.
It can happen.
It's sucking enough air to do that.
Or B, a fuel line is routed too close to a heat source, causing the fuel to vaporize,
Before
therefore
it gets
getting
into
air getting to the pump.
Yeah, before it gets into the
Vapor locking the
injector
pump.
system.
Yeah.
I got you. I had a car that dealt with that.
Yep, I've had it happen too.
All right, so then there's Aston Martin.
Basement dwellers.
Yes. Aston Martin started the year without one of their two regular drivers, as just before the season opener. Last Friday, we mentioned this. Four-time F1 champion Sebastian Vettel got diagnosed with COVID, had to sit the race out. Nico Hülkenberg was called on to fill in. As of the early part of the week, he was told to be on call for this weekend's race in Saudi Arabia. Hülkenberg saying of Vettel at the time, quote, "We don't know yet. I think it's a matter of waiting a couple of days if he's fit to race or not. I'll be in the area anyway." Didn't have to go too far to go from Bahrain to Saudi Arabia.
No.
So I'll be ready. I'll be in the area anyway to be ready and stand by. Turns out Hülkenberg is going to be behind the wheel. Vettel was not considered well enough to race this weekend, so he's sitting out a second straight race. Now, COVID rules are a little bit different from other rules. Sebastian Vettel's going to get the credit for the points that Nico Hülkenberg is racking up, because this is something that is beyond his control. Let's put it that way. Simple. And then we mentioned on last week's show that Carlos Sainz might not participate in this year's filming of that aforementioned Netflix series, Formula One Drive to Survive, because Sainz felt that the series overhyped and actually to a fairly large extent actually made up driver rivalries in an attempt to amp up the drama for the season 4. Another driver critical of that is defending champion Max Verstappen, and Verstappen has outright refused to take part this year. Verstappen said in a 2021 interview with the Associated Press, quote, "They faked a few rivalries which they don't really exist. So I decided not to be a part of it and didn't give any more interviews after that because then there's nothing you can show." As a result, Formula One CEO Stefano Domenicali has said that he is going to talk with the producers of the series. He said this, quote, "We will talk to Netflix because it is necessary that the story does not move away from reality. Otherwise, it no longer fits." Remember, he said just before the season began and the series debuted that we'll keep it going as long as it's good for Formula One.
Yeah.
He didn't say anything about Netflix. It's great for Netflix, but as long as it's good for Formula One. Right now, we're starting to see that turn a little bit. Domenicali added this, quote, "There is no question that the Netflix project has had a very successful effect," but he cautioned this, quote, "A driver who refuses to participate because he feels he is not being represented in the right way, it's not being constructive. So a dialogue is needed to understand how he can be included in a format that he feels is correct. This is a topic that we will address together with the drivers. We have to make sure that the project that has generated such exceptional traction has a language that continues to appeal, but without distorting the image and the meaning of the sport that we live with every day." And I tend to agree with him. I mean, Sainz even mentioned the fact that he felt like just the raw footage of the racing itself and the drama of how the different teams are going throughout the course of a year should be enough. And I agree with him.
Yeah.
You don't need to gin up a rivalry. There's enough of an on-track rivalry between Max Verstappen and Lewis Hamilton to where they created effectively 2 episodes out of that to wrap up this particular season.
Right.
You got plenty of time. There was a lot of drama, which I think they did pretty well in talking about the Haas F1 ordeal from 2021.
Right. I
don't think you need to make stuff up.
It paints itself.
It really does. And that's what the producers need to get back to. It's filmed fantastically. Overall, the arc is great, but yeah, you don't need to over-dramatize something that already has a whole heck of a lot of drama in it.
Bingo.
They set a nice bar. Let's not make things worse by trying to do something that's not really there. You've got plenty.
Yep. Agreed fully.
Looks like we're going to be able to do an after-the-show show.
Hi.
You ready for that? Stay close, because if you're into iRacing, we hinted about this on some of our social media pages. We'll get more into it when we come back on that. And I don't know. We'll see what else we can get into. So I hope you stick around. Don't forget that's on CRN Live. Just type in CRN Live on YouTube. Don't forget about all of our social media pages. Don't forget about our website as well, crnradio.us. Remember, it's .us, not .com, not .net, .us. That'll take you to our regular website where you can catch all that stuff as well. Thank you for checking us out. We'll be back with you again next week right here on the Championship Racing Network.
This has been a presentation of the Championship Racing Network.
For over 22 years, customers have counted on Mizell Heating and Air Conditioning to keep them warm in the winter and cool in the summer. Our top priority is your comfort. From emergency repairs and seasonal